everyone, and welcome to the Top Table Talk. We are back, and someone is very, very happy. And I wasn't expecting this 24 hours ago, I'm not going to lie. But look, we're back to talk all things football and what has been a mad weekend of Premier League football. We're going to get into it. Big up to all the panel. Welcome in Chris, hope you're well. Welcome in Wolfie. Forest, we'll talk about that. We'll get into that in just a second. I was expecting Wolfie to be bouncing on, buzzing after the weekend, but he's not.
I'm in mourning.
We'll get into why.
A man's lost his job, mate. There's nothing to be happy about, Dan.
and a £17 million payoff by the sounds of it.
That's irrelevant.
Adam, welcome in from Together BHA, and of course, Rich from the Villa Park Pod. We're talking all things Villa. But we have to start with Mr. Dan at United first. An interesting one. Very, very interesting day for lots of different reasons. Dan, he's finally gone.
Mate, honestly, first and foremost, I'd like to make a point. Wolfie alluded to this. I think the refereeing in England took a massive rise yesterday. I thought the decision to award the penalty was one that I can 100% get behind. Fair play to VAR for doing their job and getting involved and making the right decision, okay? Because we've seen them get involved at the wrong times. The fact they got involved yesterday, the fact they saw what nobody else saw, I applaud them. I absolutely applaud them. Absolutely. And Michael Pomar changed this to mid-table. Yeah, whatever. Who gives a fuck? We're coming back. Come on.
Michael Oliver needs to be sacked on the spot.
He needs to be knighted, Wolfie. He needs to be knighted.
You gave him some brown envelopes, mate. You and your other Ten Hag outers. The disrespect you put on this brother's name, man. Seriously. In all my years of watching Man U get BS decisions, even when it goes against them, it goes for them. It's just unbelievable, man. It's just, I'm in mourning.
Look, he's gone. It's. Would you say it's probably 6 months too late, or you just, of course, you glad he's gone now.
Yeah, I don't care. Look, as we've spoken about several times, yeah, he should have gone. Yeah, he did. But the fact that Manchester United, if reports are right, with Laurie Whitwell and the big boys who are tweeting about this, the reports are right, and that we are actually going out there and getting hammering from Sporting. This is how we've wanted Manchester United to act. Okay, this is how we've wanted the board to act. This is how we wanted Ineos to act. Simple as that. You have to go out there, and if you want to be one of the big boys, you have to go and get one of the big boys. No chance. I'm so happy today that Southgate can stay in bloody wherever it is next, looking at his new fucking waistcoats. I'm so happy that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer isn't going to come back. I'm so happy that Graham Potter can get back to his Sky duties. I'm so happy McKenna can concentrate on relegation. I'm so happy that Carrick can concentrate on Middlesbrough. This is what we wanted. Never in my wildest dreams. And no one on this panel can sit here and say that they expected Manchester United to go out and make an appointment. Potentially, it's not done yet. Make an appointment like this. Nobody did. So
I hope you get Southgate. I pray you get Southgate.
He can take over the United women's job. Absolutely fine. Have at it. Go and enjoy yourself.
Look, Adam, I'll come to you. It looks like Man United are getting the manager they want, as we've just put up on the screen. A manager that was well sought after last season, with the likes of Liverpool looking at him. West Ham were apparently in talks with him. It looks like even a couple of weeks ago that he was being prepped to potentially take over Pep. Ruben Amorim, Sporting Lisbon, 10 million buyout clause. What do you make of that as a potential coming in? Do you think that Man United will get back to where they want to be with a maneuver like that?
No. The problem's not been the manager for years. I mean, obviously Ten Hag's been diabolically poor, but
That's not a problem.
Well, obviously that is one part of the.
That's all right. I just wanted to check because you said that it wasn't the manager. So carry on.
You got me on semantics. You've got me there. But there's such a bigger problem at Man United, though, isn't there? And yeah, you've changed ownership
100%.
and new things have come in and changes have happened there. But I think it's good to see that the club, and I imagine you and the rest of the Man United fans are chuffed that you're actually seeing change. Even if it doesn't work, you're seeing change that makes it look like you're actually doing something productive. I don't know, though. It's in how many managers now has it been since success, like true success? 6? Something like that?
Yeah, I get what you say. I get what you're saying, Adam. But at the same time, you say it's the players. Let's not forget, most of the players at this... Oh, I thought you said players. That's on me. Most of the players in this squad are his players. This is his squad. Do you know what I'm saying? I get what you're saying. I get what you're alluding to. There have been problems absolutely since Sir Alex Ferguson left. Massively. And they've got appointments wrong. They have. Jose, I think, probably come at the wrong time. I think Jose should have maybe succeeded Sir Alex, and I think we'd have had a different look at him there. Louis van Gaal, as much as there are people who felt sorry for Louis van Gaal, the football was horrendous. The football was horrendous there, and I didn't see him ever really achieve. I could never see that man winning the Premier League with Manchester United. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, they did exactly what I was worried about they were going to do with Ruud. They brought Ole in. We had that bounce. Ole's at the wheel. Give him whatever he wants. It went horribly wrong. Now, Ralph Rangnick, I don't even count the Rangnick thing because I think Rangnick was hung out to dry. I think he was absolutely disrespected by the club, for speaking his mind and for saying what millions of people, not just United fans, but all rival fans have said for such a long time. So exactly what you're saying. This is the right appointment.
That's a good question, Adam. That's a good question.
Yeah, no. I take your question. I think what's different this time, 2 things. The first thing is normally we'd sack a manager, and again, like I alluded to, you bring in the interim. We saw it with Rangnick, we saw it with Ole, and it went horribly wrong. This time, I feel like the club. I think this has been spoke about for a while now. I don't think this happens. I don't think they picked the phone up to Sporting this morning and said, "We're sacking him. In you come." I think they've worked on this. I think the guys up above who I've been critical of. Well, that's your opinion, Wolfie. That's fine.
They did. They actively came out. It showed that they had a number of conversations in the summer before they announced the renewal. Right, like that's public knowledge at this point. So whether
I agree, but at that point, but at that point, you look at who Amorim was linked. I don't think they thought Amorim was available. I think when Amorim did what he did, sort of flirting with Liverpool, and then had to come out and apologise almost to the Sporting fans. I think they thought, no chance, he's not available. Something's happened. This has been spoke about for, I reckon, at least a week. It has to have been. I think maybe in the international break they were speaking to Amorim and they said, end of the season, we'll make the move, we'll stick where we are to the end of the season. It's not working with Ten Hag, and they risked us falling even further down. Now, I'm not saying Amorim's going to come in and turn us into Champions League. No chance. We're nowhere near that. But Amorim has got to come in and get a tune out of these players. These players who, by the way, are not good enough to play in half of anybody's panel. All the panels here, they are not good enough to play for most of those teams. All of the teams, I'd say, a lot of them. So he's got a big job on. But if they're bringing Amorim in, they're bringing him in with, I think, a promise that they're going to do stuff in January. I think we'll finally see the likes of Anthony. Off you go. Maguire, I think, will go. Maguire's attitude has been first class for me, but he's not going to match the style if Amorim comes in. Amorim likes to play with 3 aggressive, pacey, fucking fast-moving defenders who press. That isn't Maguire. So we're going to have to take this season. And I'm seeing a lot of United fans, and Errol on Football's 12th Man said it as well. Klopp come in and did wonders. I'm not sat here saying I expect we'll even come close to what that is. But what I think we will see is a change in the style of play. And I think we'll see a way now. We're seeing Ineos want to do things the different way. They want to improve things. So we move. They made a mistake in the summer. I made a mistake in the summer. I said we keep him. I said there's no one out there available. And I feel like I'm actually justified in what I said. I feel like I'm justified now in what I said, in the sense that there was no one available, I think, that could come in and turn us into contenders. Tuchel's gone to England. I wasn't a fan of Tuchel. Then you look at your Potters, you look at your Southgates. They were not the people that were going to come in and take Manchester United to the next level. We are looking at a manager now that most of the top clubs in Europe have coveted. Most of the top clubs in Europe wanted. This is a really, really good appointment. Simple as that.
Dan, the only thing I'd say is this sounds familiar to me, apart from the fact that it used to be, instead of Amrin being in those phrases, someone called Tangg was being put in all those beautiful plaudits you were putting. So again, I go back to Adam's question. What's going to change? Because let's be honest, your problem, there's a lot of problems, but I would say your number one problem is the Glazers. They're still there. They're still there. Ineos have shown they are useless as far as I'm concerned, because Ten Hag was their man. They extended his contract, yet he was still under contract until the end of the season. What the hell kind of logic is that? By them doing that, to me, it said they were showing their faith in their man. Now they look like idiots, 9 games into the season, sacking him after backing him with what? How much did you spend this summer? 200 million, probably?
Yeah, I agree with you.
But the players aren't good enough to start for any of our clubs, apparently.
Exactly. So, like, what's going to change? This is just the reset button that Man U seem to have to hit now every 3 years. They get all gassed up.
I don't agree.
I'm saying, show me the evidence to why I'm wrong. Show me the evidence.
I can't believe I agree with Wolfie. It's chilly day in hell.
Yeah. I told you we should be in mourning, Adam. That's why it's one of those days today.
Yeah.
Dan, can I also ask you as well? Dan, just to add into this as well, what does it mean for the future? Because when Pete put this in the group today, and obviously I saw the links with Amram, what does this mean for the future of Van Nistelrooy? Because my understanding was Ten Hag got a new contract. Van Nistelrooy was brought in. His last big job was obviously he was head coach, wasn't he, at PSV? And then he's come to be a number 2 at Man United. Everyone's like, oh, Ten Hag's a dead man walking. He's going to be the man to step in. And obviously he was announced as interim manager. And then quickly, very, very quickly, these Amarim rumours have come in. What's next for Van Nistelrooy? Because what if Amarim comes in and goes, no, I don't want him. He's gone.
Then this is exactly what Wolfie's alluding to. This is us. Well, this is Ineos obviously learning from their mistakes very, very quickly. Simple as that. If you're big enough to make the decision to sack Ten Hag, then there was no way that Ruud's not going to stay. I can't see Amarim coming in and saying, yeah, I want to keep him. They are going to have to clear house. They are, and this is why again I say Champions League. Forget about it. We're not even looking at that. We'll be lucky if we get Europa this season. They have to make these big choices. And Wolfie, spot on, completely agree. They got it wrong in the summer. Definitely got it wrong. But I'm more hopeful this time round with the decisions that they're making, and they're doing it the right way. If they're going to clear house, absolutely get rid of him. Simple as that. Get rid of him. Ruud, off you go, mate. Whatever you want to do. Because there's no way Amarim keeps Ruud. There's no way. It's very, very rare that you keep the backroom staff from a previous regime. This is what we've wanted for a long time.
Dan, you just said they got it wrong in the summer. You're agreeing with me. I'd go a step further. I'd say they got it wrong in October. You know what I'm saying? I get that. But they got it wrong in October only 3 or 4 weeks ago, where everyone could see he was a dead man walking, and they still couldn't pull the trigger. It's if Michael Oliver had not taken that brown envelope in your game against West Ham, you'd still be sitting here saying they've got it wrong. Like, are we seriously saying they've decided this on a dodgy penalty? That just again,
we're not.
It was a great excuse for them, though, wasn't it? It's a perfect.
Exactly that. I genuinely feel like he was lit. That is borrowed time. I honestly think they were waiting for Chelsea. I think Chelsea were obviously with Ten Hag going to come and slap us up. And teams, by the way, Manchester United fans, anybody watching this who's a United fan, don't sit here and think this is the magic. This is the magic sponge that he's going to come in and of course we'll get a bounce. That happens. But this goes deeper. He is going to have a lot of work on his hands. He has got to get rid of a lot of the coaching staff. He's got to get rid of a lot of the players. So this is something that we are going to have to stand firm and be ready for. And I'm absolutely willing to give that a chance. Wolfie, you say, what's going to change? I don't know, mate. He could come in and absolutely, bottle it. But he could come in and do something that Manchester United fans have been waiting for a long time, and that's take us in the right direction. And I'm not sat here asking for anybody's sympathy, because trust me, I've laughed at everybody's clubs on this panel. That's what we do. We're football fans. We enjoy it when our rivals, when teams around us are suffering. But Christ, I tell you something, I might start getting this dyed back to brown, because I'm hoping these greys are going to stop growing now.
And we're welcoming Daz on the panel. Hope you're well.
Yeah, lads, how's it going?
All good. Rich, I'm going to come to you because not had your opinion on this. Obviously, you've heard everyone's opinion for and against Man United, Erik Ten Hag. Where do you stand on all this?
Well, I noticed a comment in there about breaking the bank to get Unai Emery, and all of the pundits over the last few weeks. What's his name? Who does the drive time show on Talk Sport or Talk Shite, as they call it, with Darren Bent?
Rich, I couldn't get through the gate to him, mate. I couldn't get through the gate to him. He wouldn't open the gates.
Is it Goldstein?
Yeah. Goldstein. Yeah, he kept flirting, saying that Emery would never turn down Man United, and he would. They would just have to talk to him, and he'd go. But I'm just obviously, that wasn't going to happen. But I do think Man United have learned from and looked at Aston Villa as the example of going for a manager like Amorim, because like Dan said there, he's going to want to bring his own people in. He's going to want to change the style. He's going to want to have control, albeit to an extent underneath, some of the directors of football that they've got. But I mean, that might even change. Amorim literally can have the keys to the kingdom here. They're offering him 10 million a year, and he can just say, well, I want this, I want this, I want this. He holds all the cards here. But I think they've looked at someone like Unai Emery and thought, right, we need to give a manager or a head coach full control of this club. Now, my issue with Manchester United is are the fans going to give him that amount of time? What is he going to have to do? Because you said, Dan, that this season will probably be a transition, a write-off, trying to improve them as the season goes on. But then if next season he's not winning the trophy, if the season after it's not, and it's an implementing a system, how much time are they going to give him? Because Erik Ten Hag won 2 trophies. Yes, the football was terrible, but he won 2 trophies, and he's been hounded out the club. Nobody's wanted him there for about 12 months. So that's the only issue for me. How much time is he going to get? Because he's going to want to have full. I would imagine he's going to want to have full control, or he's been given certain promises. He's been given certain assurances to leave a club like Sporting Lisbon in the Champions League to go to Manchester United.
Yeah, I think coming back to that, Rich, I take your point with that. Obviously giving time, but I think even the most hardened United fans, this has gone from bad to worse. I mean, we got very, very lucky last season. We beat Man City, who had an off day in an FA Cup final. Simple as that. If we didn't do that, we'd have been out of Europe, which is, again, yeah, I will say it's unheard of for a club of Manchester United size. We should be in Europe. The amount of money we make, the heritage there, we should be challenging for these accolades. I'm happy, and I will say this with my chest out. Pete, you've heard me say this before. I just want to see improvement. I want to see progress. I'm not stupid enough to think that now we've got Amorim, we should be challenging for the Premier League next season. No chance. Get him in, back him, let him do his thing. The minimum next season, we've just got to be challenging for Champions League. We've got to get back in the Champions League. That is the first hurdle he has to overcome. Yeah, okay, look, winning cups are fantastic. And the FA Cup for me, I'm a football romantic, a hopeless romantic. The FA Cup will always be my favourite trophy. That's the cup I grew up watching. Do you know what I mean? But I'm willing to sacrifice all of that for us to get back amongst the Europe's elite, okay? And that's where we have to be. Sat there watching you guys, Rich, tear it up in the Champions League. Breaks my heart watching that. Watching you guys have the nights against Bayern Munich. It's absolutely horrendous for me to watch. So Man United fans have got to really think about this. Yeah, okay, we want to win the Premier League. Every club wants to win the Premier League, okay? And yeah, you can say, well, Leicester did it. That's a whole different time, that is. That's a whole different time. That will very rarely ever happen again. We've just got to see improvement. We've all sat here on this channel and spoke about there being no styling player, what Manchester United do. Moments of magic, okay? And that is what it's been for too long. Now, we've got the chance to bring someone in who has the right style of play, who is aggressive with his style of play, and make the change. I mean, look, Agate's his player. Agate was there, but was there with him before he went to PSG, so he knows him. He's got a good relationship with Bruno. Bruno needs, honestly, Bruno has to hit that redemption arc. I'm talking the Dark Knight Rises, when he's in that fucking cave and he's trying to climb out. That is Bruno's redemption arc, because he has been absolutely abysmal. So it's going to be a bumpy road, of course it is. But do you know something? This bumpy road all of a sudden is looking a lot more hopeful. There's sunshine at the end of there, and I'm buzzing. And look, I get it. The last thing anyone wants to hear is Manchester United fans talk, because you guys have had the time of your life watching us be absolutely horrendous. Of course you have. But my God, that little bit of hope now. Oh, God, I feel reborn.
That's the frustrating thing for me, is that regardless of Man United picking up points here and there, you always know you're going to have a moment like Sunday with Erik ten Hag in charge. And that's I think, the one thing that unites the rest of us as a panel, knowing that Man United were always going to have those moments, and knowing that that may not continue is the most frustrating thing, I think, for all of us right now.
I've just loved the last 10 years, Pete. I really have. I'm sure, I don't know how old everyone is, but I'm sure some of us have seen the Fergie era, and it just sickened me.
Yeah.
It
was brutal. It's been such.
But you say that though. You say that you've enjoyed the last 10 years. It's not been horrendous for us. We've won the Europa League. We've won the FA Cup a couple
Mickey
of times.
Mouses, that's all we won.
We've still won trophies. You're talking to me like we've been relegated.
It doesn't matter for me, as long as Man U don't win the Premier League.
Manchester United, but if this is terrible for Manchester United, Wolfie, then Christ. Jesus Christ!
Isn't it? There's over the Fergie years, there was this entitlement that was bred for Man United fans that we win these things. No, we win these things. We're first in line to win everything, and it's just, even if you've won the smaller trophies, great. But you guys know deep down that is not where you want to be. You've even just said it yourself. I'll tell you, maybe this is a stupid question to ask. Why does he take the job? Because if I'm him, and I am the most heralded potential manager that's on the market, I know he's going to get paid. He's going to get paid wherever he goes. Why do I step into the most stupid Mickey Mouse madhouse club that there is in football at the moment? Why do I do that? Why do I just wait? Yourself. Yep. Yeah, exactly. I think that's just delusions of grandeur, isn't it? Because he's sat there. He's not lost or drawn a game this season in the league, right? Gyökeres is playing out of his mind. He's scoring 1 million goals. He's going to sit there. He's going to get more silverware at the end of this year. He could take any job he wants where there's an opening. Why take the Man United job now?
You're on fire today, Adam. I gotta say, mate.
That's making me question my own
identity. To United, Dan.
I just love it, though. I love it because the news is breaking that United are doing the right thing, and I've got fans that are fuming, and I fucking love it. I
can't wait for it to fall through.
I'm telling you, if we don't appoint him, I'm moving to Borth, and I'm going to turn all my socials off.
If you get Southgate, Danny boy, if I will stalk you on YouTube if I see your face on any channel. On any channel, it won't be worth you having a camera in your house anymore, mate.
Wolfie, you won't find me, mate. You won't find me. I've read all the Jason Bourne books, mate.
and this is the thing, though, is that obviously we're all frustrated for the reasons that we've all just said for the last 25 minutes. But and you're quite rightly buzzing that Erik ten Hag's gone. Buzzing that more potentially it's looking likely that he's your next manager. But there always has to be a but, particularly for the rest of us as a panel. If this doesn't work, there has to be major questions asked, because it wouldn't be the first time that a top-level manager that's rated very, very highly in Europe has gone into Man United and not made it work. And you know what's even more of a concern? If it does not work, it would have happened under two different ownerships, effectively.
Yeah, I agree.
Have come in and put their stamp down on Erik ten Hag. It didn't work. Then they bring a more in him. If that doesn't work, then there's got to be some serious questions asked.
It's got to be voodoo magic. If it doesn't work with this, it has to. There's someone's put a hex on us. I'm telling you. I'm sorry if there are people that are into that out there, but if this doesn't happen, Wolfie.
Remember the
I like
Goonies?
to apologise to the
the
sort
little
of
thing. Who
voodoo
remembers the Goonies?
worshippers?
Sorry, Indiana
I
Jones.
know, that's
with
what I
the
thought.
old
Adam, literally, as soon as I said that, I thought, oh, I'm getting cancelled.
Oh shit, am I upset as the voodoo worship? Yeah.
Dan,
Hang on, what's
Dan,
happening here? Oh my god.
Dan, I just wanted to go back to this comment. This comment from Michael Pomar, which and I've seen you laughing at. If Man United don't get Ammann, do we need to hide the sharp implements from Dan? We always, as you know, Dan, from this channel, we always love to play devil's advocate. So I want to fast forward a week. Ammann doesn't take the job for whatever reason, or Man United don't approach him. You're in charge of who you're appointing now. That because we've spoken about this before, but it wasn't a reality because Erik ten Hag was still in his job. But who, if Amman's not on the table? Who are you going for?
Southgate.
If it's not Ammann. Wolfie.
Southgate.
Wolfie.
Me. Mate, if you put me in for a day at Man U, I would destroy it. Oh man, that would be my dream.
There's
Give
no
me
way
one day
you do
in
it
charge.
better than what
One
they
day
have
in charge. That's all I need. That's all I need.
Wolfie, you say that, but you'd make all these changes and we'd probably be a lot better because we've had absolute shite. I could just picture Wolfie in 3 years' time, like bold, going, I don't understand how this happened.
What are your next 3 games, Dan? What are your next 3 games?
Leicester, we've got Leicester in the cup, and then we got Chelsea, and I think Leicester again. Then isn't it in the league? I think.
Couldn't get any
and then
easier.
obviously I think Europa League as well.
So
To be fair,
let's
I thought
Chelsea in between. Chelsea in between. Is that what you said?
Chelsea.
Yeah, Chelsea Saturday.
Yeah.
I think Saturday or Sunday.
I thought Thomas Frank's comments today were quite interesting because he basically almost said the "come and get me" plea. He was like, "Oh, I'm committed to what I'm doing with the directors and the chairman here, but you never know what might happen in the future." And I was like, "He's ready."
Rich. So can you imagine? I read that and I was like, "Oh my god!" And then I read the Amarim. Imagine me then. My wife banished me to the spare room. I've been here for 5 hours.
Man United have behind you there, Dan. I've just noticed you got a lot of makeup and perfume behind you there, mate.
No, you think this is an accident?
Pretty on stream. I see where the secrets are now.
You think this is an accident, mate? All premeditated. I'm telling you.
He's had to put a brave face on for a number of years, so that explains it. But I mean, don't underestimate Dan Ashworth's role in this. If Amarim doesn't happen, like the roots go deep with both Potter and Southgate, and that's been fairly public, right? So I think as Wolfie's doing, I think we're all just hoping that happens. Either one.
I'll take Southgate. Southgate's so prestigious, man. Look
The
what he did for
misery
England.
ball would just be so good.
Adam.
Oh my god!
It almost feels like, to quote a famous Newcastle United manager, I would love it if they didn't get him.
Now you're pushing it, Dan.
I think we said this right, but you obviously seem like a great guy and a great fan, but there is something someone said this before that brings the rest of the fan bases together around Man United's like suffering and bleakness. And it would be so wonderful to see that continue. And it would be such a shame if Amarim came in and you started playing great football and started winning trophies and stuff again, because, there's something romantic about it all failing.
It's beautiful.
It's
beautiful.
Yeah. No, I agree. Look, I've been This is how bad it's been as a Manchester United fan. I've been sat here for the last 12 months praying about the 115. That's pathetic, and that is because, and I'm man enough. I'm man enough to admit this. So you've got people like Goldbridge who hang their hats on it, because in reality we know we're nowhere near Manchester City's level. So this is where we have to beg and pray that they get brought down, so then something can happen. It's realism. Manchester United fans, we've seen this, and you know something, I won't just call out United fans because we've all got them. There is a fair amount of toxicity in every fan base, but at the moment, because a certain person that I mentioned before has got a very big voice now on a very big platform, it's amplified even more. And that, for me, I'm hoping that Amarim comes. If Amarim comes in, I have to keep saying that because I don't want this to come back and bite me. But if he does, we need. I know you dirty man, you. we need the next manager to come in and unite this fan base, because that is the biggest problem we've got. There is so much toxic in the air at Old Trafford. But what brings that is winning. You know, when you're winning, that's when everything's good. When you're losing, that's when we see, you know, what's happened. So I'm buzzing, honestly, guys. I could sit here and talk for 7 days, 8 days, 9 days, a month about this. And Rich, you better believe, my man. I'm telling you, if this doesn't happen, ain't no gates going to stop me breaking down to get Emery. I will have him in the back of my Ford Focus if I have to.
Maybe if you put some some of that makeup on and put a little outfit on, you never know.
Trick or
like
treat
at the Big Brother studio.
Oh my God!
What's he like? Does he like the K Alley perfume I hear? Because trust me, if that's the case, I'm dousing myself with this stuff. I'm dousing.
You can tell he's happy. But look, you mentioned about Thomas Frank earlier, and I'm going to segue now into another club, because could it be that Newcastle United might need a new manager soon? Not won in 5 games, another defeat at Chelsea, albeit a slender 2-1 defeat. I want to know what you boys are thinking about Newcastle United at the moment. We had a conversation about them with Brighton. We talked about it last week with Adam about that game. We had chances to win it. Almost fortunate, would you say, Adam? You said that last week, that you kind of got out there with the win. But this week...
Yeah, I mean, we stole the win, but we also just gave away 2 points. So I feel okay about that now after this week. But yeah, I thought you guys would change the name of the show today, because it's, you know, there's only 3 of us on here that fit the criteria right now. And I say this as I'm coming off.
There's only one of us on here who's won, mate.
That's what I mean. I'm Forrester. Just every time they win, I see your face. There's
see your me too now. Me too.
Honestly, I'm about to check myself into an asylum. But no, on Newcastle, yeah, I mean, we've been mocking Man United this whole time for the last 20 minutes. It's only a point in between you lot, right?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Wow. You got to get rid, mate. It's like no debate on it.
Do you like winning cups, lads? Do you like winning cups because there's someone who's available?
You say that, Wolfie, but our fan base is quite split at the moment. There are a lot in the Newcastle United fan base that are adamant that they want Eddie Howe out. They want him gone. Even today, there's been tweets saying Eddie Howe out. They want him out the club. There are some on the other side that see other reasons why we're not doing what we're doing. You can go back to the last 2 windows, haven't signed a first team ready player. You know, what do you think? I mean, we're 12th in the league. It looks like top 5 is way beyond us this season. You know, is European football even a possibility right now? Look, we talked about it on our review yesterday, myself, Chris, and Dad. So, you know, we've had our kind of opinions on it. But from an outsider's point of view, you know, what are you thinking about Newcastle United? Of course, for some of you, you're probably glad that we're down there because we're
not for me, mate. I like to see Newcastle shaking it up. The way, you know, when you go into the Champions League, I love it. Anyone who can break that Cartel 6, I'm all for. But I said to you boys about a month ago, I think it was, you got some interesting fixtures coming up, and you will know where you are, you know, come the close, before we hit the international window. I'll be honest with you, it's not looking good on the pitch. It's like fits and starts. You have some games where you think that's the Newcastle that we saw a year and a half ago. And then sometimes in the same game, you're like, what the hell's going on? There's no cohesion. No one seems to know, you know, who they're playing with anymore. I just think sometimes it may get to the stage where a change is needed just to freshen things up. Not because Eddie Howe can't do it, but the demands on the club have grown exponentially since you were bottom of the league, Steve Bruce and Eddie Howe coming in. The standards and the expectations have grown. If he can't meet the standards, I don't understand why people get so asphyxiated in the word project, because everyone goes on about project managers, yet every single person wants results straight away. Those two things can't work hand in hand. And just tell me one project outside of, you know, the Klopps and the Peps, that has worked. Because instant success is realistically what every fan wants.
Nuno.
Yeah, well, he's less than a year.
Emery.
He's less than a year. You know what I mean?
Who knows?
But that's my point. If you look at Rich's boys, he came in there, instant identity, and you know Emery's taken them places. This whole notion of project and rebuild the team and what have you is bollocks. Because I don't think fans have the patience for it, and I don't think owners have the patience for it. So if you look at it in isolation, and I don't love Newcastle, but I have no beef with Newcastle, and I like Eddie Howe as a manager. But the question has to be, is what you're seeing on the pitch good enough at the moment? The answer is no. Has this been just overnight or something? No, because there was complaints last season. In fact, there's similarities to Ten Hag, because last season he was complaining about injuries, and so is Eddie Howe. So, the injuries can't be hidden behind for over 12 months. It's that then has to raise questions on how good is your squad depth? How good is your recruitment? How good are the fitness coaches? All these questions need to be asked. So I don't want to see Eddie Howe go, but I would understand it if he went. I definitely don't want to see him go before the close of before the next international break. And that has nothing to do with the fact we're playing you in 2 weeks. But yeah, I want something good for Newcastle. I want to see Man U relegated and Forest win the league. That would be perfect. And Rich, you can have a Champions League spot. I don't mind.
Cheers,
because
mate.
you have heritage,
mate.
right?
We'll win it.
It needs a shake-up. We need shake-up.
Yeah, what about Brighton?
We're going down with Man United.
Brighton. I even forgot they exist. So Brighton.
There it is. There it is. Just when we were getting along.
Wolfie, I'd love to see you on Halloween when kids knock your door to have sweets. I bet you're that horrible bastard that gives them hot pennies, sprites.
Just the rappers, mate. Just the rappers. Get off Yeah. But
while he's chewing them.
Yeah. Spat them back out. I don't know. I think it's tough. I think you guys owe Eddie Howe a lot. Yeah, for the way he turned things around. It was a bit like us with Steve Cooper, and that's why apparently I've fallen out with loads of Forest fans, because I was able to cut the sentiment out of it. Cooper wasn't good enough to take us to the next stage. He may not have been good enough to keep us up. He got us promoted, fantastic. But if you stick with something on sentiment, you're going to end up back where you were when you first hired him. So, the decision is yours, guys. But even if you get another manager and he's not the right one, I'm sure Dan will say, if Matey comes in now and he's not the right one, change him. Eventually you'll land on the right person, but don't give me this project stuff, because I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it.
Oh, well, I'll ask the rest of the panel then. Is Eddie Howe the man to take us to the next stage?
I think the writing was on the wall with Eddie Howe in the summer when he was doing those interviews on the pre-season camp. I think things haven't been right since then. I think he was maybe promised certain things or wasn't told about certain appointments or certain signings. The Mitchell thing with the director of football, I don't think he was particularly happy with that. So I think there's been a bit of a murmurings of discontent since the summer. And then if you marry that up with not necessarily having the best performances, and maybe there's just that little bit of, I don't know, he just doesn't seem to have that same zip, that same motivation. And even if you're 1 or 2% down with that affects the players then. They see that. And Newcastle last season, the start of last season, certainly the season before, when they would go 1-0 up or when they would even get back to 1-1 in a game, it was like a train. They would just go and they would score 2, 3, 4 goals and just absolutely put teams away. Whereas this season, and I thought maybe it was if they got Joe Linton back fully fit, because he's a massive player for you guys to give you that driving forward. But he hasn't seemed to have been able to produce that. And Bruno hasn't been as good this season. And, they just don't seem to have that same, I don't know what it is, that same kind of oomph that they used to have. Yeah. They're just.
Oh, here's Cantona.
Yeah, they just haven't seemed to go. Now, whether that's because he hasn't maybe been able to make the signings that he's wanted to, I don't know. But I mean, to only put all your eggs in to go in for Mark Gay in the summer and then not get him and then have
That was a
nobody
massive
else
L.
to go for.
Massive
I mean,
L.
that's ridiculous. Even if you're going through transition with a director of football and moving to a different director of football, you must have a list. He must have a list and goes, right, here's who I want. This is choice 1, choice 2, choice 3. Go and negotiate. I mean, that's just ridiculous. So that's where I see some of the discontent, and I think that, you know, that maybe 3, 4, 5% has maybe dropped off him a little bit, and that does impact on the players a lot and impacts on the performances. Now, whether he can rediscover that, whether a couple of results will turn that around, I don't know. But I do think that there's certainly a time coming where he will have to look at whether you do make a change, because every week in this league it's crazy every week, and you only need to lose another 2 or 3 games and that's it. You've definitely got no chance of top 8 unless you go on a run of like 7 or 8, 9 wins in a row, which happens to one team every season.
Yeah,
Rich, you make a great point. That 2-3%. Now, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm thinking back to Joe Linton. When he first came to you, wasn't he playing as a left winger, more advanced
striker?
Yeah, and then Eddie Howe saw something in him, put him into midfield, and he was terrible, by the way, when he was first at you. And Eddie Howe saw something into him, and for about 18 months, he was one of the best players in your team. Rich, you're spot on. I haven't seen that from Eddie Howe. When his back's against the wall, he seems to be able to get creative when he's motivated. And I think Rich has just come onto a great point. Has he lost that fire? Has he lost that creative mind that he had when he first got you guys in? He was getting such a tune out of Miggy for you guys in the beginning, and he's gone, hasn't he? So, yeah, I think, Rich, that's a cracking point.
Do you think as well? I mean, you boys will know better than me. You know, you're fans, but obviously losing Ashworth, we can have all the inside jokes about that. But losing Ashworth, who was a massive I'm not. I promise, I'm not doing that. Losing Ashworth, who we were very close with, and then Amanda Stavely and I can't remember the other chap's name going as well. They were big allies for him, weren't they? I mean, they twerked for him a lot. It seems to have just gone downhill since these changes have made. I mean, obviously the reports coming out that him and Mitchell weren't on speaking terms, I think, for a little bit. They seem to have patched up. All these things behind the scenes, it affects the pitch. Living proof. Do you know what I'm saying? So I feel like losing these allies, losing these people who back you so much, who you work so well with, it does have an effect. And the one person I feel sorry for is Mr. Tyndall, because his teeth have started to dull as well with these results. Those big fluorescent white teeth.
Yeah, don't go there.
He's not been so mad though, has he? He's not been so mad, Pete. He's not.
This is it. The red cartel. They go and ruin it. They go try and bring a rule in where the two can't stand on the sidelines together because managers don't like it, and the only managers that don't like it are Man United, Arsenal, Liverpool. This is what happens. But look, they've asked some genuine questions, Chris, Daz. What are your thoughts?
Just jumping in there, just correct one thing, Dan. A massive ally was Amanda Stavely. Not so much Dan Ashworth, though.
Fair enough. As I say, that's your club. That's what I thought, but fair enough.
No, it's hard. It's hard. No, it's hard to keep track of all the clubs. But yeah, then the whole PSR debacle, and everyone potentially being up for sale. And Eddie came out with it about a week ago that trying to restore the harmony that's been kind of broken over the summer. It's and we talked about it even on the reaction show as well. It's not a valid excuse. Valid excuses were injuries and Tonali's the betting ban and this, that, and the other. But when it comes to Eddie Howe, like he built up so much credit by saving us from relegation, the next season getting us into the Champions League position and getting us into the Champions League. And then, so he had so much credit in the bank, but last year that eroded a bit. But he's still starting the season, and you're thinking, this is it, now we can kick on. We don't have those excuses anymore. Things didn't happen in the transfer window.
Does that credit run out?
He's starting to head towards overdraft territory, and that's why this cup game on Wednesday is massive for him. Along with that, I'm not going to go there with the Arsenal game. I know Pete we need to win it as well, but we're at home, so we have to go for it. But then the game against your boys at Wolfie is massive as well, because that will then take us to that international break. And as you pointed out, and we've said it before as well, that kind of defines where we are. Our season is going in then, and then big questions will start to get asked, I think.
So what can I ask what your stance is?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, Wolfie.
Out of interest, who's out here?
I'm still in with Eddie, but massive things have to happen.
The hope that kills you.
Needs to pick. Yeah, it is the hope that kills it. But
Trust me.
I'm expecting Wolfie 3 points against your boys away from home, and then 3 points against West Ham. So that's what I'm thinking.
So with Liverpool, mate. So with Chelsea. So with Brighton.
Boys. You asked me if the Amorim thing doesn't happen, who's on my wish list? So who's on your wish list? Who is it if he goes? Who do you boys want? Who do you feel you can go out there and get?
Amorim.
The man you're about to. I said it the other day. I said it to these boys the other day. I think I was on with Chris, and I said it. I said Tangg as well, who was at Dortmund last year. I could be wrong here. I don't think he's still got a club. Having left Dortmund.
No.
All for your shameless. All for your shameless.
He's a good manager. You mentioned Thomas Frank. Thomas Frank's not a bad shout.
Steve Cooper would do a job for you, mate.
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm telling you, take Ten Hag. You want the trophies? Get him.
Mancini
is
true. Mancini is a free.
Maybe we were talking about him the other night. Mancini, leaving his Saudi role, and Aaron's put Jose Mourinho.
Boys, you said the one name that you haven't said the one name you'll get. Let's be honest, it'll be Harry Potter, won't it? It will be.
The one thing.
Or Southgate. Oh my God! All the stick I get. All the stick I get. I'm telling you.
No.
Anthony Gordon will love that. I'll tell you what, Gordon will love that.
You're struggling to score now.
Probably a good thing that Anthony Gordon's at Newcastle United, because he'll be the one player that will be saying, I want out if he comes in.
Transfer request.
But the one thing I say, look, Mancini's a high-profile manager. The one thing I have with the high-profile managers, and this is just, for me, it's been my thought for the last 15 months or so, when Eddie Howe's first been talked about is potentially losing his job. What high-profile manager is going to come into Newcastle United knowing that they have not got that big money to spend? We've got it, but with PSR, these top managers are going to come into a club and go, I need money to spend because I want to revamp this squad. Like, we're already being told we've barely spent any money in the summer, and we've got journalists telling us that, we've got to be worried about PSR again. It's a new 3-year cycle. Like, how is that even possible? And this is the thing. If we're doing that with Eddie Howe, these other managers that have been there, done things, won trophies, why would they? And this is no disrespect to Newcastle United, because I think as a club, as itself, would attract these managers. These managers would want to come to Newcastle United. But with these other managers, they're going to want money to spend, and we clearly don't have that money. And the only way we're going to have it, the only way we're going to have that money, that cash money to be able to spend, is if we sell one of our top players.
Wolfie, this is your fault. Wolfie, this is your fault. As if you'd seen my club struggling with PSR and struggling with the money. At the end of the day, you've got to do it the right way, boys. You've got to attack the financial side with this league the right way. I'm telling you. You wouldn't see my club fucking about with money. No chance.
Yeah, that's just 40 million handovers. Yeah. But no, Pete, I've got to take issue with that money stuff, because I hear this narrative from all my Geordie mates. We know you had at least 65 million in the summer that went unspent. You also know that we can have a PSR party like we did again. Thank you for Elliot Anderson, and you're welcome for Vlachodimos.
No, we're not doing that again.
No, you will. You will. If that is the way that it has to go, that's how it will go.
Okay, so give us Morgan Gibbs White, then. Give us Morgan Gibbs White, and we'll do a deal. Fine.
You can have a Langer. I'm happy for you to take a Langer. I'll give you a cut price, 30 mil. Look, but my point is, this whole hiding behind we don't have money is utter BS right now. We've got round it. You've seen Leicester find a massive loophole in the days and things like that. And the other thing, and just like the comment said, it's a rolling cycle. So it's not a new 3-year cycle. So you'll only lose what you had from 2 years ago. So the narrative of you haven't got money is not acceptable. And let's be honest, right? Newcastle aren't going to be in a relegation battle. If I'm a Newcastle fan, let me ask you guys this question. Would you take Newcastle spending 100 million over PSR and getting hit with 6 points the next season? Who cares? What's that going to change you from? Potentially from maybe Europa to conference? For the sake of the longer term, you'd have built your club, got hit with 6 points and move on. They're not going to relegate you for breaking PSR.
Right now,
there's so many loopholes you could have. Sorry?
Right now, that would put them in the bottom 3.
Yeah, but it won't at the end of the season.
Would it
You know what? And you know what? We were meant to get a 10-point deduction had we not sold Elliot Anderson and Yakuba Minty. That would have put us what?
You would not have got 10 points. You would not have got 10 points because there's precedent now with Forest cases, with Everton's cases. You saw those reduced. Yeah, and that's the tariff now. You can't use this Portsmouth tariff.
Wolfie, you guys had had a defense in terms of mitigating circumstances in inverted commas. But if Newcastle or any club knowingly did it because they knew that, we might lose 6 points, they'll just go, right, there's 30 points because you know They can't because Everton and Forest would be used as the case to reference to. They can't just pluck numbers out. They can't do it. This is the thing. Now that Forest and Everton have paved the way in terms of what the tariff is, they can't. No judge or no panel would look at it and say, "Oh, okay, just because of that." And you telling me Everton didn't knowingly broke, Forest didn't knowingly break, Leicester didn't knowingly break. These clubs, either they're idiots or their accountants can't count. Leicester exploited
so they do knowingly break.
They?
Yeah, they do knowingly break, and they just think, "Oh, we found this loophole and that loophole." Do you think Chelsea didn't know what they were doing? Chelsea, selling their own hotels and what have you.
See you later, boys. All the best.
Good luck, Jack.
What did I miss?
But this was about how though, right? I mean, it's gone on to money, but has he really? There's been a really tough run of fixtures for you lot, and it continues, right?
No, it's not.
But it has been. Like if you look at who you've played in the last few games, right? You've Chelsea away is a really hard match at the moment. And by the way,
not really.
They're one of the better sides in the league right now. Man. I don't know what
because they got a point.
I know, but
you should have got a point. To be fair,
beside the point, you should have got a point against Chelsea, right? You should have got probably 3 points against us, if not a minimum a point, right? It's still a tricky game. We all know you should have beaten Everton. You got a point against Man City, but you've got the same goals conceded as the vaunted Arsenal defense in the league. You've got a scoring problem. Like how can Eddie Howe can't magic a scoring problem away? Jacob Murphy shouldn't be a Premier League starter. Almiron shouldn't be a Premier League starter. Isaac's not been fit the whole year. Wilson's not fit ever. I still maintain you've got the best midfield 3 in the league, but then it starts to fall away with the injuries that you've had. Isaac's amazing. Botman's amazing. Can't be relied upon so far this season. It's not been easy for him. Even if you brought in Gahey, your problem hasn't been defensively, like we've talked about, right? You guys have been really focused on we've got to bring in a right winger, and that might help. And that might help. The difference in a lot of these games, if you'd put away one of the chances in each of these games that were their quote unquote big chances, high XG opportunities, there's no conversation about Eddie Howe being pushed out, in my opinion.
Well, this is the thing as well. If you we talk about Arsenal on the weekend, but Newcastle at home, St James's Park, all the cliches, you could go and get a result, and then you're looking up the table rather than looking down the table straight away. Then you're bouncing into the game against Forest, and players may be coming back fit and all that kind of stuff. So so much is read into every single week, every single result in this league, which obviously it's going to be, but it's still very, very tight in there. I mean, if you guys win beat Arsenal, you up to sort of 8th, 9th? Would that take you right up there?
Rich, you're making it sound like
I understand that. Yeah, it's just easy. Yeah, just go and beat Arsenal. It's fine.
But you're right, Rich. You're right. You know, we do go and get that result, and things will look better in the league. But the problem is, we now have to, because we're already the gap's already big to the likes of you guys, to the likes of Brighton, albeit Brighton didn't win, and we'll come to that in you boys in just a second. We're at that stage now where every game matters. We can't just have a Chelsea, we haven't won there in 12 years. If we don't win, it's all right. No, we have to pick up points. We have to now pick up points on Saturday. And if we don't on Saturday, we've now have to go and win against Forest, because if we don't, that's then 7 without a win, and that's then potentially what's that, four on the bounce losses.
He's gone. If you do that, he's gone.
Exactly.
This is going to Forest either at the minute.
And this is my point, and that's the point that I'm making, is that actually, the results, the fixtures haven't been too bad, or the results haven't been too bad, but in other seasons, we would have expected to go on to Fulham and win. We would have expected to beat Everton, especially with how bad Everton were. Brighton at St James's Park, we always expect to win, because we expect to beat every team that comes to St James's Park. That's just the way it is. But we've won none of those games, and now we're having to win games where it's not necessarily a guarantee, or even if we've got a chance of winning. Like Chris Daz, come in. Tell me.
Yeah, look. That first of all, is the cup game is the most important thing, and keeping a bit of hope alive in our season. And then the Arsenal, look, I don't hold much hope for that Arsenal game, but then Forest, West Ham, Palace, winnable games in my opinion. But then Liverpool, we're at home again. Again, it's a roll of the dice. We try our best. Brentford, Leicester, Ipswich, then on to Rich's boys, Villa on Boxing Day, Stephen's Day in Ireland, and then on to Man United.
That's a win for you, you know that. St James's Park, you'll never win at St James's Park.
Hopefully, but yeah.
I take your point.
By Christmas, we know where we are.
Yeah, but I take your point. You have to win those. It just the defeats against or not winning in consecutive number of games then puts that more pressure on to win the next 2 or 3, or to go on a good run, and that just puts more pressure on the game against Arsenal, or the game against Forest away, which it's a tough game at the minute, and you don't want to be going into an international break on the back of even if you got a point, you need minimum 4 points really.
Basically, bottom line is it's on the Forest game. Realistically, you might get a draw out of Arsenal, but to hope you're going to win, things can happen. But realistically, it really is coming down to the City ground in a couple of weeks. Wow.
Massive game.
It's going to be massive, boys. It's going to be massive.
Daz has already said it. Wednesday is a season definer. Like, it's such a massive game, because that's a genuine cup that we could go and win, potentially. And we go into the last 8, I think, with a win. Yeah. Quarterfinals. Like, it's huge. It's a huge game, and we're at St James's Park. For me, it's a must-win. We cannot lose that game. We cannot lose.
I don't see you winning it.
I tell you what, if we don't win that game, you can imagine it was bad on Sunday with the Eddie Howe. If we go out, that's going to be ramped up by 10.
Escalates.
Guaranteed. And honestly, if we lose at Arsenal, which is very likely against Arsenal, it's going to ramp up another 10, and it will all fall on that. And I've said to these boys, it's Eddie Howe's last season regardless. I said it back in August. I still believe it anyway. He might not make it out the international break.
They never felt like they wanted him, did it? Even at the start, there was all the rumors, they want to get Mourinho in when they, did the takeover and what have you, and he's just kind of exceeded expectations. I think if they get a whiff to get rid, they'll get rid.
I'll be honest, Wolfie, I didn't want Eddie out when we got him, but I accepted the fact that I was wrong initially, because, you know, Eddie Howe has been fantastic since he come in. And, you know, when we were linked with him, in fairness to Pete was saying, you know, he's going to be perfect, he's going to be ideal. And where you think about where he's taken us, you know, he's been a good manager. It's only really now where I'm starting to like question, and particularly after what Rich said, actually, you know, when, you know, Rich, you were talking before, weren't you, about, you know, Eddie Howe, he's fresh-faced, you know, new ideas, innovative. And you're absolutely right. And these are all the things now that we're questioning about Eddie Howe. We're going, hang on, well, you know, why aren't we setting up differently? Daz and Pete were on away days with Charlie and Don, and they'd be going, right, okay, you know, Stamford Bridge, 5-3-2, let's mix it up a little bit, let's find some other ideas. And then the lineups came out, and it was 4-3-3 again. And it was almost a bit like, you know, where's this, like, you know, energized new ideas from talking football, if you like, because we know that there's a problem going forwards. We know that with the forward line there is an issue, but we're not seeing any changes, any differences. It's like, oh yeah, I'll just throw Miggy in, give Miggy a go instead of Murphy. Oh, Gordon's out here, I'll stick Barnes on the left and put Miggy on the right instead. Like something's going to click or something's going to change. But it just, I genuinely feel like, you know, Eddie is on borrowed time, particularly if the results carry on as they are. And I never thought I'd say that, but it definitely has that air about it. And I think now, ultimately, one of the main reasons we're being punished and one of the main reasons that we're struggling is because of the lack of first team recruits, and the fact that in the last 2 windows we've not recruited anybody who's first team ready. And I think it smacks of it on the pitch. And boys, we've said the same thing, haven't we? It just looks like everyone's just a little bit tired, a little bit run down, a little bit like you just press and repeat, and you just going again. Oh, it'll click soon. It'll work, and it'll work eventually. Something will happen, and it's just not happening. And you know, imagine now if we had like a new right winger or a new striker, and you know, I know we've got Will Asula, but he's getting like 4 or 5 minutes every game, and it's like, well, that's not gonna do anything for him. And
if he go Wednesday, Chris,
that's not Howe's fault, though, is it? Like, that's not Howe's fault. But are you saying he's going to be the fall guy for that? But
Well, no, I get what you mean, Adam. I get what you mean, but ultimately the problem is it always falls on the manager, doesn't it? And if the manager's not given what he needs, it's going to be him it's going to cost him more than anyone.
It's almost like he probably needs now, like, and it's weird. Like, I don't know, you boys know, I live in Newcastle, so I'm a Villa fan living in Newcastle, and like I see so many good footballers around in this area, and like Middlesbrough, I have to say, Middlesbrough and Sunderland. It might be catching up now, but they've for years and years and years had better academies than Newcastle. But even below that, you know, South Shields, Gateshead, all the Northern League clubs, they've had brilliant young players around, and it's almost like they need to throw in like a young kid. Like Eddie Howe just needs, if you've got like a kid who's scoring record goals in the under-21s, or a kid who's flying in there, just to give a bit of life, you know, like Miley did a couple of years ago, put him in and he does well. And then that gets the crowd all on side. It's almost like you need something like that. Put a young kid in, throw him in there, see how he does, get the crowd behind him. And then, you know, if he scores a couple of goals, because you know, what's his name? Isak's getting back to fitness, but Wilson's constantly injured. Even this Asula guy, I know he's not a young Geordie kid, but I just feel like they need something like that. Like, you know, Newcastle fans have always loved a player coming through and kind of grabbing the chance with both hands. And maybe it could be like a bit of a last throw of the dice for Eddie Howe to throw someone in. But I don't know if you guys know of anyone in the under-21s who's absolutely flying, or, you know, banging in the goals or what. I don't know.
Rich, you're right, but it's too risky.
Yeah,
if you're a manager,
the bus for that.
Do you know what I mean? If you're a manager and you know the ropes around your noose, you're not gonna jump off the cliff, are you? Chucking a kid on is too risky. It's too risky.
But the problem is that we've got the 2 young players that you probably throw in are already in and amongst it already. Like Lewis Hall, he's been fantastic this season at left back. Like, he's only 19, 20 years old. He's the kind of guy you throw in, but we have to start him because he's better than everybody else. And then you have got Lewis Miley, who's back on the bench. But the problem is that who do you drop him for? Because you've got Sandro Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, and Joe Linton. You know, this is the issue: is that you've got a young player that could come in and make that difference, and did last season, but you're then having to move one of those more established players out. And you can't. I think Eddie Howe's probably thinking you can't do that. Not against Chelsea.
But Pete, then what do you do? What do you do?
Huh?
What do you do if you're not going to change the team?
We talked about it on away days. Daz mentioned the 3-5-2, and as soon as you said it, Daz, I was like, you know what, that could work.
5-3-2, yeah.
If you watch that game back, that formation actually works because they don't catch us on the counter attack twice. If we've got a back three or a back five, however you want to say it, they don't catch us in that position, and actually. They want to play on the counter-attack, and that formation stops them doing that. That actually stifles them. And if that stifles them, we've still got the ability to have Isak and whatever to nick a goal. We're probably in a better position to win the game. And this is it. So you're asking, what would you do, Wolfie? I would change it. I would change the style. I'd change the formation. I'd give something
But you're changing the personnel?
We're not necessarily. Not necessarily. They need something different. They need to play in a different way that suits the players. There's no point playing Burn and Shaw as a back two, high press out the pitch when they're going to get rinsed in and behind by Jackson like they did in the last game, or Pedro Neto. This time they'll probably
have a hell of a ball though.
Well, we talked about it in review. For me, I think it was made to be better because Tino Livramento and Shaw didn't deal with it. And both of them could have. And I think that's made it look a hell of a lot better than what it was.
Flashback to the Danny Welbeck goal, yeah.
The only thing I'd say on that is if you're not talking about changing the personnel and you're talking about a tactical or a system change, then it really is on how. You can't then say it's on the players. So maybe that's kind of your answer. You've got to the conclusion, but not really knowing the question you've just asked. Do you know what I mean? If it is a system that needs to be changed, if you think the players are good enough, then it's on the manager.
But we haven't even got through a quarter of the season.
Yeah,
I know we've all got. It's hard because we watch these games week in, week out, and when it's not working, you go, "Oh my god, just change everything." But like, I'm looking back to the start of the season. You guys opened 3 wins out of 4 in the Premier League.
They weren't playing well, Adam. They weren't playing
really poorly. And this is the spillover
That's
from
testament,
last year,
right? In
last
some ways,
season
though,
as well.
Getting points when you don't play well, isn't that the sign of a good team? That's what
it's
we're
fine
always
as long
told.
as then you kick on to play well. Yeah,
we actually said that at the time. We were like, you know what, sign of a good team. We're going to click. We're going to get it right. But what we've done, performances have improved, but we're not getting the points. And I think most people now would turn around and go, I want shit Newcastle back because that shit Newcastle was getting points on the board. It was getting points on the board. The problem is we're in a position where we're not getting anything in terms of results, and the performances are there, and it's just like, well, what can you do? We're in a position where we now have to get performances, and we now have to get results. We need both. We need both if we're going to kick on. And as I say, it's only a quarter way through the season, but the gap's already big. We need to reduce that gap in points to be in that conversation later on. We don't want to be signing players in January and 10, 12 points adrift because we're putting too much pressure on ourselves.
Well, where do you think, and I forget where you got to with predictions, Pete, but like where did you think you'd realistically finish this year? You're saying we're away from where we want to be. Where do you think this team should be in terms of quality of player that you have today? Is it a top 6 team?
Top 6.
So top 6 team.
5th.
You think 5th?
Well, they were the
season, yeah.
We all said they were the position. We all said I said 5th. I said 5th. Chris, you were.
I think I said 4th, didn't I? I was. Yeah. And not which now sounds laughable, I know, but it was kind of a case of, you know, we've got no. Let's not forget, boys, we're you know, one of the only clubs who are allegedly near the top. We've got no European football. There's no distractions. So I thought, well, I know 5th was probably realistic given, you know, the teams who are really kicking on this season. But I was thinking to myself, we've got no European football, and I know that there's an opportunity to get Champions League football with 5th. For the like coalition, but I wanted to guarantee it, so that's why I was saying 4th. But realistically, you would say with this squad, this manager, you would think that we'd be a top 6 club. But at the moment, we just look so far off it, just completely far off it.
And you've got Forest that are playing well. You've got Brighton that are up there fighting. Villa looks strong for 4th, let alone 5th or 6th. You've got Chelsea that are back in the conversation. You've got Tottenham that will pick up points regardless. You've now got Man United with a potential new manager, only a point behind us. You've got West Ham that have got a brilliant attacking front line, poor defence, but attacking front line, which will win them points that are only a point behind.
They'll swap manager out as well, and that'll fix itself.
Yeah. So we've just named about 8 or 9 teams.
That's what I mean.
Genuinely in that conversation, and it goes back to the point: we cannot let the gap get too big. We have to get points on the board.
I think you cut off this international window. You either do it or you don't. Do you know what I mean?
You don't give him a transfer window. You didn't give him any players. You're not going to give him a transfer window.
No, because look at December. In December, I think everyone's got 5 or 6 matches.
He needs he does need a transfer window. But if we keep picking up losses, then the decision may well be taken out of his hands.
Yeah, but you can flip that round. The new manager will get the transfer window that way. Do you know what I mean? You can look at it both ways. Because as a new manager coming in, would you rather come in before the window's open or after it's shut? Obviously before, so you can pick up some of your players. I think the Forest game is the one that's going to define it.
Is Forest
preview to that just to really build it up and hype it up?
Is Forest before the international break?
Before,
right? Okay.
This transfer window is Paul Mitchell's transfer window, not Eddie Howe's. And it doesn't matter what manager is in, and because he'll be bringing in players that are for the club for long term, not what the sign off of Eddie Howe or even the next manager that comes in. Then whatever players he brings in, there has to be some agreement, of course, but that's where the direction it needs to go now, and that's the way direction PIF wanted to go by bringing in Paul Mitchell into that position.
But do you think they didn't back him in the summer because of all the England manager talk stuff and how he was being linked to it and everything? Is there a bit of that in there?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it was that. I think the PSR stuff was completely threw everything up in the air. And Paul Mitchell coming in has changed the targets. Eddie Howe was all in on Gay, and I think he was all in on Gay. It's just my opinion, by the way. I think he was all in on Gay as if to stick 2 things up to Paul Mitchell to say, "I want my players, not yours." And I think they've now come to an agreement. So I think January will be a different proposition. But I am really mindful. We've done a lot of talking on Newcastle and Man United, but we haven't talked to the panel. And I know you've got to go very soon, Adam. So we'll do Adam, Rich, we'll do you 2 boys together. Didn't get the points on the board, the 3 points that you look like with a few minutes to go that you were both expecting. Wolfie's very happy about this, but obviously Adam, Wolves got a last minute sting after a 4-on-1. A 4-on-1. What? I honestly, when I watched that, I thought of you and your reactions to that. You must have been fuming.
It wasn't good, mate. I nearly lost a fairly decent phone when that happened. Yeah, it was. I've not been that angry about the end of a Brighton game for quite a while, but it is absolutely like heritage Brighton to do that. It was a comedy of errors. That first of all, we gave stupid goal away from a set piece, which we're excellent at doing, and then it's people were saying 4-on-1. It was 4-on-1, but it was almost 6-on-2 because we had another 2 runners sprinting up just behind them as well, which is part of the reason why they then were able to just run up the other end and then punt it in the back of the net, because we had, for some reason, 6 of our players in their half in the 90-something minute defending a 1-goal lead. It was tragic. I think there's been a lot of abuse held at Matt Weaver, who was the poor guy that made the horrendous pass, but there's more to it than that. There was some naivety in that team to push all those players up, or to let them go up at that point in the game and let that happen. It should have been a comfortable 3-1 win, and instead we look utterly stupid. And we now, go into facing Liverpool on Wednesday, Liverpool at the weekend, and then another annoying game that I'm not looking forward to. I think is it City? I can't even remember at this point. I've forgotten. So yeah, tragic, a really tragic. It was. Where's
It
the
is
fixtures?
City.
I've lost my
And
It
then
is
Bournemouth.
City. It is City. Then it eases up. Then we get an easy run of games. But I mean, we could have ended this game, right? Because it would have. I think we would have then been joint fourth with Villa if that hadn't happened. We'd have been joint fourth on the same goal difference.
Wow.
So it was absolutely brutal ending. And the manager is still learning, but when we conceded the first goal, he decided to continue to bring on Julio and Ciso. I don't know how much you've seen Ciso play football. Promising youngster. He can smash a goal in from anywhere, classy on the ball. Probably the last person in the footballing world I would bring on when I need to defend a 1-goal lead with about 5-6 minutes left in the game. That was a shocking decision to do that. But yeah,
it's naive, isn't it? It's naive because forget the 4-on-1. You were still 2-0 up in the 88th minute, wasn't it?
No, I mean, yeah, it was absolutely. It was. Yeah.
He needs, and I think that's the first time this season, joking aside, that we've seen his inexperience. Because, like, what we're seeing in Forest is as soon as we're 2 up, don't care if it's the 60th, 70th minute, Nuno locks it up, brings on our third centre back. The ref might as well blow the whistle. And I think he'll learn from that. Look, you've got to allow him mistakes this season. He's not come in as the complete package. That will hurt. It was funny. I'm not going to lie. It was hilarious, especially against Wolves. And, we can't get separated on points, nor can we now be separated, Adam, on the only 2 teams to give Wolves points this season.
There you go. Yeah.
Exactly. We're hand in hand in the league and what have you. Yeah. So, but he will learn. He will learn. If you're in that situation again and he does that, then you can take issue with him.
Well, do you know what's crazy, though? We talk about margins and all these games in reference to Newcastle scoring or not scoring, right? If Matt Sweefer picks out one of the other 3 players he could have, it's suddenly like, what a genius coach. You've got 3 points there, comfortable, you're 4th, you're in the Champions League places. Wow, you are riding high. And that was the difference. And that was the difference.
It wasn't as if the young Wolves lad, is it Doyle at the back? He was just kind of floundering for his life. It wasn't as if he read the game amazingly and blocked his pass. It was just he just put his leg out. I mean, and the poor guy who played the pass, he's just thinking, why didn't I just run towards the corner? Like, why didn't I just forget the attack, just run to the corner flag and just waste a bit of time? I know it's all ifs and buts now. I know, but it's just like he could do that 1,000 times. And 999 times it'll go to the Brighton player. It would just happen to hit the Wolves lad. Because the Wolves guy didn't mean anything. He didn't read it or anything. It just went to him.
Precisely. But, he'll wake up for the rest of his life, right, at 3 a.m. and he'll envision that moment and he'll just start sweating up. But the 4 players that are at the top of the pitch, if we're talking about giving the manager some time to figure the Premier League out, all really young players right there. And the good thing, if there was a good thing to come out of this game, and I think I'm preaching to the choir here, Daz, Evan Ferguson finally scored after 32, 33 games. And he took his goal so comfortably. It looked like I think I said this in our podcast, it looked like he scored a hat-trick the week before, the way he took it, not like a guy that's starving for a goal. So if there's something good to come out of it, it's that. The downside is we've now lost Lewis Dunk for 3 to 4 weeks. So our defensive situation that was already not good is even worse. We've only got 2 actual centre-backs at the club that are fit. So it's going to be tricky after that, which is why it would have been really nice to pick up 3 points there. But yeah, embarrassing loss. Point. It felt like a loss. That should sum it up.
Yeah, draw.
Yeah, definitely. Villa, same situation for you. Not great. I mean, looked like a really kind of even game at one point. Villa, you guys stepped it up, but then they've snuck in a pretty good goal, but well taken goal towards the end to steal a point. But you're still in a good position, so it's not the worst thing in the world. It's maybe the time in which you conceded the goal more than anything.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a strange one, really, to what Adam said. It's almost it was just a different situation with Villa. Like, we didn't go for the win or anything like that. We didn't go gung ho or anything like Brighton did. We scored in I think it was the 76th, 77th minute after playing really well. I know we talked last week about Villa not really catching fire this season and kind of being quite ordinary, but the first half was excellent. We played some really good football. We scored a goal that it was adjudged to have gone out. The whole
that
ball
did not go out, Rich. That
which
did
is
not go out.
Again, very, very strange decision. They didn't have the angle looking over the ball. This, they talk about this semi-automated system. They need to bring that in properly now. But anyway, and then second half, again, the goalkeeper for Bournemouth had an absolute stormer. Mark Travers, the second choice goalkeeper, came in an absolute stormer. But we scored, and then you're thinking, we tried to shut up shop. He made a couple of substitutions to change the game to get us back in, and then he made substitutions, brought Boubacar Kamara on to shore it up. But for some reason, we just kept giving the ball away. We didn't respond to Bournemouth's changes, and we kept getting pushed further and further back. Could have conceded 2 penalties. We were giving away stupid fouls, and then right in the last minute, Ross Barkley gives away a silly foul. Didn't need to give it away, and then we just lose concentration on a final set piece. Matty Cash was in the wrong position in no man's land. John Duran let his man run across him, and Emi Martinez wasn't in a great position in goal. And yeah, good header in the bottom corner. But when you're winning 1-0 with literally the last kick of the game, you've got to see out games better than that. And we've been a bit scrappy when we've got, like Wolfie was saying about Forest kind of shutting up shop. And we've tried to do that a few times. But even against Fulham the other week when we went 3-1 up, we were a bit scrappy when we made a few substitutions. Bologna was a good performance, good solid performance once we went 2-0 up. And I think he tried to do that again, this kind of energy conserving, this kind of keeping ourselves fresh for the next game, making quite a few substitutions. And the players need to keep that concentration when that's happening, because even though the results have kind of gone our way this weekend, it still feels like a lost opportunity, because we could have been on 20 points in third position. Like I said last week, are we then talking about Villa in the race, with the top 3, especially after these results? Whereas now it's like every time Villa get an opportunity to put pressure on the teams at the top, they always come up short, and that's this mentality shift that we've got to try and get over.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest blow this weekend for you, mate, is that Liverpool were playing Arsenal and they dropped points technically. And, Bournemouth, I don't like Bournemouth. I ain't even going to hide it. I just think they're more irrelevant.
This team's become a B.
Honestly, I actually hate them. They're just pointless. But, if you just held out, but they're known for, they did it against us in the first game of the season, last minute, 4 minutes to go, equalizer and what have you. They're just pointless. But I just think the bigger picture is, you could have gone with momentum. You got next Palace, isn't it, or something? You'd have gone with momentum.
Palace in the cup.
Yeah,
Palace in the cup, and then it's a real tough
Spurs.
week next week. It's Tottenham away, then it's Bruges away, and then it's Liverpool away. So it's a massive week, massive week.
Still waiting for it all to fall apart, Rich.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I mean, like I say, that the good thing is we've won 3 games in the Champions League already. I'm not sure if you know, boys, but we're atop of the Champions League at the moment.
I do.
And it gives us an opportunity maybe to kind of rest a few players for that Champions League. And I never thought I would hear myself saying that. But it's come to that point where you can probably afford to make a few changes for that game. And you'll certainly make changes for Crystal Palace. So, Morgan Rogers was looking a bit tired the other day. He's been phenomenal, and he played 90 minutes against Bologna. He played pretty much 90 minutes against Fulham. He was a bit jaded, so I think he will benefit from the rest on Wednesday. And, playing some of the other fringe players, Kamara getting back to fitness, Tyrone Mings getting back to fitness, Emi Buendia getting some minutes. So that'll be good. And, Tottenham, who knows what Tottenham team are going to turn up. That's the thing. If you can withstand the first 30 minutes, you can generally get a result against them.
Yeah. And it is about game management as well, isn't it, Rich? Because like you say, you as much as you want to have a successful season, you want to make sure, that you get as far in the Champions League as you possibly can. You also want to make sure, don't you, that you're there next season as well. Because then obviously 2 back-to-back seasons in the Champions League, that's real progression, isn't it? So no, it makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Well, if you do happen to go out to the cup reach, we don't mind. It's ours.
I know. But we want to. It'd be fantastic for Newcastle, Villa, Forest, a bit of silverware. Be amazing, and it's balancing it up. It is really balancing it up, because if you do get to that quarterfinal of the Carabao Cup, then then you've got a decision to make. The next game you're going to have to go strong. Depending on the draw that you get, you're going to have to go strong, because you're literally, you're then potentially one game away from the final if you win that quarterfinal. So
it's true.
It becomes a big decision.
Yeah. Well, Rich, I know you might have to shoot, mate. So if you do, don't worry about it, because I know we're coming up to 8:30, and I think we've made Wolfie wait long enough now, haven't we? We've done an hour and a half, and Paul Wolfie wants to talk about his win. Rich,
see you, boys.
Cheers, Rich.
See you, Rich.
Take it easy.
See you later, mate.
Yeah,
Wolfie,
normally I'd be gloating, but this one was expected, boys. Shitty Leicester against our former manager.
Yeah.
Chris Wood. Special
Cristiano Woodini. You know how I thanked you for Elliot Anderson the other week? Thank you for Cristiano Woodinho.
Yeah.
He's just I don't know what to say about him. I don't know what to say about him. That first goal is second only to the little dink one he did against you guys with his hat trick. Not that I'm bringing that up at St. James's Park, but the way he just spun around the Coley and just fired it into the bottom corner, just defied physics. It really did. So we're flying. We were 5th after we beat Leicester. Obviously, the other teams hadn't played, and we got West Ham next. And honestly, the chat probably going to think I'm getting all big-headed and whatever, but I just don't fear any team. I really don't fear any team. Like for 2 years, anytime Forest were away, you're like, right, let's chalk that off. What's our next game at the City Ground? Now, honestly, I'm not even scared of Arsenal, Man City. Not with our defense. Our defense is so rock solid with the 2 centre backs and Moreno and Aina, that I just think you're going to struggle to score against us. We will create a couple of chances. And if we get the lead, I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable that we could hold out. So, yeah. I know there's going to be pain and what have you down the road, but right now, why can't I enjoy it? I'm damn well going to enjoy it. I've suffered long enough.
Ride the crest. Yeah. Absolutely.
You're 24 points off safety, so why not? Why not enjoy it, Wolfie?
Yeah.
I mean, we're like 8-9 points clear of the relegations, and I don't know what it is because I'm not looking down. I'm only looking up. We're 2 points behind Liverpool, Arsenal, 4 points off the lead, something like that.
And you know what, as well, Wolfie, it's rare, isn't it? But when you get that win on a Friday night, you're almost a bit gutted because you haven't got your team to look forward to watch at the weekends. But it's nice just having them 3 points in the bag, isn't it?
Mate, it was lovely. I've always hated Friday night games because they always ruin my weekends. But this one, it was like, cool. Right, let's see what the rest of you can do now. Yeah. Can you take us off 5th? Yeah. Knowing the lowest we could go was 8th after the weekend finished. We finished joint 6th. Technically, even though we're 7th, Brighton we're on the same goal difference as Brighton, but they've scored more. I'm just really happy, and I'm just excited. Just bring on the next game. I saw the West Ham Man U game. West Ham didn't look good at all. I don't think there's too much to worry about there. I think Kudos is still suspended after the Spurs game. So yeah, bring that on, and then let's bring on the Eddie Howe freaking decision day at the City Ground. So yeah, I'm excited, boys. I am absolutely excited. Are we in a title race? Probably not. But if we finish top half, European football, why not? Let's shake this Premier League up. Newcastle, Villa, Forest, these kind of teams, heritage, history. Yeah. Let's shake them up. Who allows Spurs to be classed as a Big Six club? Is just beyond me. 1 trophy in 2008, and then what? Nothing. So screw Spurs. Yeah, let's get the Midlands clubs, the Northern clubs in the conversation, and let's shake up this cartel that they're so adamant about defending.
Why not? Why not, mate? And do you know what? We've just had a question in for you, Wolfie, which I'll ask, but I've got my own question I want to ask you.
Yeah.
And this isn't, tongue in cheek. This is just a genuine question.
Well.
Are you worried at all about the January transfer window? Do you think there's going to be any temptation that the Forest owners and also, I suppose, Wolfie, is this an opportunity? Like, let's be honest, if you carry on this form, right, and you get to January, is there an opportunity for a massive club to come in and say, we're going to pay X amount for this particular player? Is there an opportunity for you from a PSR point of view to go, okay, let them go. We can bring in a replacement, and then it gives you the opportunity to build and bring in 2, 3, 4 players because we know your owner's got the money. It's just that there's always a concern about PSR and the rules and stuff. Yeah. Is that a temptation? And what I want to ask you is, who would be the one player you think would be most likely to go based on what you've seen so far this season?
So to answer that question, I think you guys answered that question for us with Elanga at the end of the window. Under normal, so I don't know what the number was. I heard 40, I heard 50, whatever it was, and we rejected it. Now, I agree with it on principle, but on the player, I would have happily taken the money. That to me tells me that Forest are not worried about PSR, that the recruitment team, the backroom team, the players on the pitch, the hierarchy are all in the same direction. They like the unity on the pitch. So no, I'm not worried about people coming in. It would have to be something stupid. And the most likely player was 2. It'll be Morgan Gibbs-White and Murillo. We've heard links today of Liverpool after Murillo, but that won't be for January because Van Dijk isn't signing a contract or has said words to that effect. That won't be till the summer. I'd be shocked if we sold anyone in the January window who was a first-team mainstay. Maybe Elanga. Elanga, for me, still isn't really quite there for me. If you guys would come in January 40 or 50 million, I think they'd consider it. But I just don't think right now Forest is so in tune on what they want to do. There's so much harmony in the fan base, on the pitch, in what's going on, that I just don't see it happening, mate. It would take silly money.
Yeah. They can afford to hang on to the summer, I think, before they do any kind of business. They don't. They're riding high at the moment. So why rock the boat? Yeah. We go for that question from Foxy actually. For Wolfie.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah. So Foxy asks you, Wolfie, how's Ramon Sosa settling in so far? Is he still some way off being a starter?
A little bit. He's scored a goal against Brighton, if I remember rightly. Very good, tricky winger. I like what I've seen of him, but at the moment it's quite hard to dislodge because he would come in on the left side on Callum Hudson-Odoi's side. I actually wouldn't mind seeing him on the right-hand side in Elanga's place. But I just don't. I think what Nuno's done really well is he's bleeding the players that we bought from at the end of the window in slowly, letting them get used to the system, to the team. Obviously, there may be slight language barriers and what have you. So it's him and Jota Silva, the two main ones. I think Jota Silva is probably ahead of Sosa in pushing for the first team, but I think every player will have their say. I really do. And, Elliot Anderson for me has been, I'll say it again, I'm not just because we saw him in the 10 against Crystal Palace on Monday, and he was fantastic. We've been worried about what happens if Morgan Gibbs-White is injured like he is now or suspended. And Elliot Anderson went in there. Okay, he didn't have his greatest game against Leicester in the 10, but I still think he played okay. So everything's just going nicely, boys. And honestly, it's a weird feeling. I'm not used to it. I'm just not used to it. And that in itself gives me a little bit of worry, but I'm just ignoring that voice in the back of my head until something happens. I just want to enjoy it.
Yeah. We had that. Yeah, we had that feeling all that season we got Champions League football. It was like that. So it's nice that someone else gets to enjoy it as well. Hopefully we get back to those winning ways eventually as well. But I have to say, I don't mind you coming on next week, Wolfie, being all happy, but I don't want to see you coming on all happy and chest out the following week. Well,
it depends if you want Eddie to stay or go, Dad, doesn't it? Maybe your opinion has changed if you're out of the cup or something, and we'll all be back in Forest that day.
We'll see. Wolfie, just one last question for you, and try and answer as honestly as you possibly can. Yeah. Let's fast forward to the summer, and Newcastle go, we want Elliot Anderson back. How much are you charging for Elliot Anderson to take him out of Forest?
Well, are we classing him as 35 million or the 15 million that was spent?
I think that's probably fair, yeah, because it was an overall 35 million package, wasn't it? So you can
so it was technically 15 net, wasn't it, that we paid for him? I think there's rumors that he's about to get an England call up in the November squad. I think that always adds valuation onto players when they do that. He, for me, is establishing himself as our number 8.
Yeah.
But a person who can play it as a 10 and play it very well. And therefore, not only you're not looking at a jack of all trades, master of none, you're looking at a master of the 8 who can adapt into a 10, whose work rates are phenomenal.
Yeah.
The one thing I'd say, he needs to sort out his finishing. He's missed a few decent chances. I know he didn't score for you guys in a competitive game. I think only against Brighton, wasn't it, in a friendly or something. Once he masters that, I don't know how much he's worth. I think you're looking English tax, Premier League tax. He's probably getting somewhere about 40 million, I'd say now. You know, that 35 million is probably correct currently at his valuation. But by the end of the season, he'd just rise. I can see him doing what Morgan Gibbs-White did. He just keeps rising in price. I love him. I think he's a cracking player. He really is.
If he hadn't moved to Forest, he still wouldn't be getting games for us. He'd still be getting a few minutes off the bench or something like that.
True.
So for him, it's better for his own personal career.
Imagine, boys. Imagine, though, he scores his first goal in 2 weeks' time. Forest win 1-0. He sacks Eddie Howe. Oof, what a story I've just written there.
That can't happen. It can't.
It'll probably be Wood, wouldn't it?
Right. I think we bring the show to a close. Thanks everyone for joining. Smash that like button on the way out as well, and subscribe. And subscribe to all the lads you're seeing on the show here. We will be back potentially back on Wednesday night for a live reaction and draw.
Yeah.
If not, ignore I said anything. Talk to you later. Have a good one. Good night.
He seems like he's good for you, and he makes you feel like you should. And all your friends say he's the one. His love for you is true. But does he know you?